just wanted to show you a couple of things that I've learned here lately. Finally broke down. Got me a fuel tank. T-Rex makes them. The thing I like about it is it has adjustable voltages, and I needed everything from 9 to 12 to 18 volts on my board here. So these little toggles right here will adjust it. On the first three, it's from 9 to 12. The fourth one goes from 9 to 18. Fifth one goes from 9 to 12. Sixth one is for AC voltage, which I don't have an effects pedal that uses that. You can actually, even though you've only got 5 that you can use at once, they have a daisy chain cord that you can plug into any of these and get 5 more effects. So effectively you can use power 9 units with this. Now the thing I like about it is I got rid of all my wall warts. It was a pain going to a gig and having to plug in 5 of those things. I just didn't buy this because I'd spent, you know what, at least $100 on those wall warts. They're not cheap when they're new. But as you can see, I've got a little bit of a dilemma here. I'm determined not to add any more effects, so kind of stack things on top of each other. That effect you just heard was my Analog Man modified script MXR Phase 90, which I was about ready to sell, and that's the whole point of this video. Is I jacked the voltage up on it to 12 volts. I asked Mike at Analog Man, I said, can you handle it? And he said it should be able to handle 12. So that's the whole point of this video, is for you guys to experiment with your voltages. I have always run the OCD on 18 volts. This is my 18 volt coming off of the fuel tank. Now watch the LED light. Hopefully you can see it. Let me zoom in real quick here. Watch the LED get almost twice as bright when I plug in the 18 volts. See? And to me, that's the secret. And OCD says, you know, they recommend running it on 18 volts. It cleans it up. That's what you have to check with all your effects manufacturers to be sure they can handle more voltage. But my point is, you don't always have to run them on the 9 volts. Here I was going to give you a little demo. You should always have one of these little cheap meters. This is Radio Shack. I got it set on volts right now. This is the 18 volt wall wart coming out of the wall right now. I got it plugged in. I just wanted to show you. Checking the voltage. Voltage comes out on that one at 17.63 volts, which is good, and it's always sounded good on that. But I was surprised that an extra 0.6 volts actually cleaned it up quite a bit. This is the one coming out of the fuel tank. You can see it's running at 18.22 volts, so it's about 0.6 volts higher. And the other thing I like about the fuel tank is all the 9 volts are pretty much 9 volts. I checked them all. 12 volts is right on. This one's a little bit higher. But all my wall warts were running about 9.23. So what I'm getting at is, you know, some of these things, they don't run the exact voltage that you think they're running at. And if you get a cheap one, like I bought a cheap 12 volt for my wah-wah. I was going to experiment with my wah-wah because it'll handle 12 volts too. And I bought a cheap one and it added a lot of noise. So one good thing about these units, the fuel tank, is it doesn't add any noise. The only noise problem I have right now is this Ultimate Octave Fulltone. By the way, I think all Fulltone effects can take 12 volts. I'm going to run this on battery when I'm at gigs because the power unit actually adds a lot of noise. Even though if everything's loud in the band, you wouldn't notice it unless everybody got quiet. But the reason I think the Phase 90 sounded so cool, hopefully you heard it on the video, was that I've got this jacked up to 12 volts. And as soon as I put the 12 volts to it, man, it really seemed to open up. So I'm going to keep running this on 12 volts. The only problem is now if I go to a gig, I got to kind of manually throw this thing in there if I want to use it. I just don't want to expand my board any. I'm happy with my little homemade plexiglass board. And since I'm an anti-effects guy, which you can tell, I'm starting to become more of an effects guy. Either way, they all sound good. I run this on 9. Wawa's on 9 now. This I keep it plugged in at 12 just so that I don't run the battery down and I don't have to unplug everything when I finish playing. That's one thing I like about these. But at a gig, like I said, I'll unplug the adapter and just use the battery because it sounds good. And also, Fulltone recommends these cheap, old, non-alkaline batteries. And they do make a little bit difference. They get a little bit of a strange distortion. But he doesn't recommend alkaline batteries in these fuzzes. I think a lot of people like Eric Johnson are real picky about their batteries. But that's it for today. Hopefully you get something out of it. Like I said, I really like this unit. It's sturdy, about 140, 150 bucks. I got mine 141 at Amazon. Talk to you later.